right, welcome to Nerds of the Old Republic, the podcast where we drink and discuss nerdy fiction. Today we're outside at Shaun's house. The bells still don't mean anything. The points don't mean anything, except for pride, which is, again, really all we have.
Yeah, the bells do mean everything to me, so I just want to be on record with that.
I really am sorry for what I do to your self-worth every time I say the bells mean anything.
That's all right, the bells bring it right back.
Okay.
Do we have a power-up button on our fancy new studio equipment here?
Yeah, so we've got some new setup going on right now. Like I said, we're out at Shaun's house. So if you we're outside at Shaun's house. So if you hear any background noises or last time a fox was murdering its prey in the middle of a podcast while we were out here, we figured it was pretty fitting for what we're reading tonight. Shaun is currently making us beverages out of a watermelon and some artisanal ice that he's got and some mint. I have one sitting next to me. He told me to be the guinea pig, but I'm going to wait until at least Mike has one so that... Oh, he does have one. All right.
I have one.
Ready?
Yeah.
We'll give this a go while he's...
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Oh, man.
That's refreshing as hell.
Very refreshing. Is it? Yes, sir.
Does it need more alcohol?
I think it's good.
I'm going to say this tastes fine as is.
Yeah, this is what I would want from a, refreshing beverage.
Now, you're the one who's not driving this evening, so you may want more alcohol. But...
Yeah.
Well, I heard somebody brought some fine local beers for us to enjoy. So.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about those.
Right down the 90
local
East.
Beers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting fact about those beers. Those were the first beers I ever got drunk on.
Hey, that seems right.
Not the exact ones that I brought today. This is
somehow you
decades
peed
ago.
it out and redistilled it.
I'm sure the taste ages well, however. I'm sure it would hold up well the longer you let it sit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So now that Shaun is able to rejoin us here, we are discussing selections from Stephen King's 2020 collection, If It Bleeds. And we want to encourage everyone to check out some of our more recent episodes, including our discussions of Marlon James's book, Moon Witch Spider King, and the hilariously bad Nicolas Cage movie, Jiu-Jitsu.
It's so bad.
You know, it can't... We had this discussion where it's like, how is this a Nicolas Cage movie because he's not the protagonist? But he's the headliner because he's the person who has earned more than hundreds of dollars for his movie acting prior to this.
But I do want to especially encourage our listeners to listen to that episode because that might be the most fun we ever had recording a podcast.
Agreed.
Up until this evening.
Of course.
There you go, yeah. So...
You want me to talk about what we're drinking out of?
That's exactly what I was going to go for now that you're back with us. What are we doing, man?
So, I was recently in a wedding for my sister-in-law and my new brother-in-law, David. And they come from Australia. Good day, mates.
I see you on the downloads.
Yes.
Thank you.
And they gave me a really interesting gift as a thank you. And it's basically a fruit tap. And you use it for watermelons, gourds, things that you could insert a tap into and then pour your beverage out of.
It's like that game Can I Milk It, but with alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, exactly.
Squash, things like
Ooh.
that.
Yeah, I can
Put some rum in a squash.
Ooh, maybe we'll do this again in the fall with some fall-flavored pumpkin spice drinks or something.
No, I was making a joke, but that actually does not sound bad at all.
Yeah,
You just started a TikTok trend.
I'm just going to go ahead and take credit for that. This was my good idea.
You can probably see on our social media eventually when Mike posted a picture of the tapped watermelon. But basically, I took the innards, I pureed them, strained them, added vodka to it, and lime juice. Mixed it well, put it back into the watermelon husk after it was tapped, and then poured it over some fresh mint with a little garnish of lime and some ice in a tumbler, and tastes all right.
Shaun, it is
I think
delightful.
so. Yeah.
Enjoy.
On a hot day, I would come back to this, for sure.
I'm actually headed out to a family event at a lake tomorrow, and I may just impress everybody there with my own little watermelon thing.
There you go.
Well, there's a little
Amazon
Sprite
Prime
in
that.
there, too, just to break it up a little bit.
Okay. I'll taste that.
A little dirt bike in the background.
Well, again, we're outside, as one does, right? When it's nice out, let's get the hell outside and enjoy it.
Well, tweet at us after the show. There'll be a little scavenger hunt. What noises did you hear? So far, we've had a dirt bike. I think that's it.
There was a yapping dog.
Police sirens.
Police. Yeah, but they may not hear the sirens. Before we get into more of the show, though, I want to thank our growing community of listeners and followers on social media. Special thanks to the listening community at Good Pods. Oh, man. Where we are continually ranking high among similar podcasts, the arts, the books, and the hobbies. That tends to be our channels there. We were recently featured on Podbean too. The host of this fantastic web entertainment. They had us there on their homepage with 3 or 4 other podcasts, and they gave us a good boost and brought them some new fans. So if you're new to the show and this is your first new episode, thank you so much for finding us on Podbeans. I tried to give a follow back to anybody who followed us on Podbean, so we see you. We'll see your stuff. Thanks as well to the listeners who have posted reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our show and the topics we discuss, please consider rating and reviewing us. It is really a big help. And be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I can't tell you the insanity that is Mike's Twitter game. So, like, if you're not following us at Nerds of Old Republic on Twitter, what are you doing with your life? You're really making some poor life decisions here. So, get on that.
At least we know that Elon Musk won't interfere with our Twitter domination anymore.
I don't know. Is that officially fallen through?
I just saw that he's calling it off. He wormed his way out of it.
The only thing I can say is that now he can continue to help manipulate our stock prices because he really is a big boon for our stock. But in all seriousness, don't forget to check out our blog too, More Than Just Books, on Podbean. And please rate and review us wherever, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're now on Samsung and iHeartRadio. So if you're new listeners on Samsung or iHeartRadio, thanks. Thanks for finding us. Yeah. So, gentlemen, we have today in front of us Stephen King. I would consider him possibly the OG kind of everyman writer, I think. And so I was just wondering what your personal backgrounds were with Stephen King here.
I have not an extensive background with Stephen King. I've read a few of the Dark Tower series. Liked them fine. I read a more recent book by him. I think it was called either The Revival or The Revivalist or something like that. And then I've seen a number of his works, obviously, made into movies, including what I think is a very underrated, sort of dark psychological film called Secret Window, starring Johnny Depp. But it's not one that gets a lot of attention, and I think is an excellent, just a tight, dark fantasy or dark psychological thing with a twist ending that's based on a Stephen King, and I've seen a bunch of his other ones, the more famous ones. That's about it. I haven't read a ton of his stuff, and I haven't read any of his so-called classics.
Sean?
I have a bit more of an extensive, but I mean, for such a prolific author, I haven't read all of his stuff. I read some of his Bachman books. It was probably the classic that I read, and
good for you, because that is a tome.
Yeah, it's great until the problematic ending, and like any of King's works. And then I read the entire Dark Tower series because I was captivated by it. And just various short story collections, things like that. But I would say that I'm a fan of his work.
I kind of fall more towards Mike in this realm, in that I don't actively go out and find his new stuff. I'm aware of his canonical things like The Shining. I've seen The Shining. I've never read it. I've seen it, both versions. I've never read. There have been red balloons floating around my sewer grates in my neighborhood every October because of the new movie. I have read more of his other fiction, like different seasons. I've read Green Mile. So, those novellas, I guess, because when Stephen King writes short fiction, it's a novella, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where I've come from. So when I came to If It Bleeds, I came pretty fresh to actually reading his stuff as opposed to just being aware of it. So this was good for me. I really enjoyed getting into it.
By the way, for those of you participating in the scavenger hunt at home, that was an airplane that went overhead. You can update your scorecards.
There you go. You're up to 3 sounds, right? All right. So If It Bleeds is a collection of, I jokingly say, short stories because I just don't think Stephen King writes anything briefly. Brevity is not his middle name, but that's all right. So I guess maybe we could start with Mr. Harrigan's Phone, because in the text itself, that was the first one we all said we would pick up on. Right. It reminded me a lot of stories of Monkey's Paw, where you get something in exchange for something else. They have a supernatural object that has some sort of bargain with it in a way. Do you think King added anything new to that archetypal story?
Well, an iPhone.
Yeah. He made it 2007.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's interesting because he's got some of that generational stuff going on too, with like the old man and the phone, and just I mean, but it's got that timeless bullying sort of understory.
I feel like he always does that when I read a short story.
Yeah, he definitely has some things he's working through still, even in his old age. But I think it's not derivative, but it's not super fresh either. It's my take.
Yeah, I have a similar take. I was underwhelmed by this story, which isn't to say I didn't like it. I liked it fine, but I didn't. Yeah, I think one of Stephen King's strengths is creating these sort of iconic stories with iconic characters and iconic monsters in it. And, I didn't see that here. I felt that this was just a story.
Were you just whelmed?
I was whelmed. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I was evenly whelmed.
I felt the same way,
This story was a par.
There you go. A par on like a par 3 course that's only got 9 holes. It was like, no offense, Stephen, Mr. King, but
Don't call me Stephen.
Don't call me Stephen. Mr. Dr. King. I felt the same way, because he's known for taking common fears and adding some sort of like extra twist that you just don't see coming. And I was waiting, Harrigan's in the ground and we're still hearing him. We're still like talking to him. And like, I'm expecting some sort of like more torture for the protagonist who benefits from his relationship with this old man or something, like a relative from Harrigan's family to come through and start like insulting the boy, coming through and attacking him. But like, the falling action took forever, and there was no reason for that much falling action.
The phone calls, though, were creepy.
Sure.
I mean, he does succeed in making the atmosphere work, and you're just kind of like, oh, don't answer that phone, kid. And it's like he does, and it's just, you're sitting there going, like, got the heebie-jeebies while you're reading it, but...
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff was a nice touch. I mean, the whole thing about, like, the specific words of the voicemail message, were... something that had me thinking the whole time, because he was like, I'll call you back if it seems appropriate. Yeah. So I kept waiting, like, is he going to call him back one of these times? Like, that seemed like that's what that was, Chekhov's gunning, so to speak.
True, yeah.
But, he never did. He never called him back, but he texted him back. And, it was, like you said, it was not... You kept waiting for like the twist, like where's he going with this? That we're going to be like, oh, that's like, what he had in mind, and it never happened. He texted him a bunch of times. A bunch of people died horrifically, and then the story ended.
Yep. Someone's hair went gray, right?
Yeah, right. I think it went gray first, and then he died. Was that the one that was like he hung himself in the closet? Was that the school bully?
The autoerotic asphyxiation dude.
That was like the rumor. Yeah,
that's what he added to the monkey paw story. He added some early 20s kink.
There you go.
All I could think of was David Carradine.
Carradine.
He was in one of my favorite movies of all time. Just as an
Kill Bill.
No, actually not Kill Bill. Although I love Kill Bill, but this is like a campy B-movie zombie film where he's like the Asian mystic, like of generic background, and he has his like dead son's soul trapped in a box, and these drunk partiers come through and stay at his B&B and knock over the box and release his dead son's soul, who then turns everyone in the town into zombies. But the narrator of the story is like a hillbilly rockabilly musician.
What the fuck?
Who like will narrate stories.
Was Nick Cage involved in this at all?
No, he should have been.
Get off my
piano.
This actually sounds very interesting to me. I'd be interested if you can remember the title of this.
Oh, it's called Dead and Breakfast.
Oh,
the problem is they don't sell it anymore.
Okay.
And I'm so pissed that it got pulled from Apple Music servers. Or Apple Movie servers. I bought it. And then they're like, sorry, we don't have the rights to give that to you anymore. So it's gone. Like my $20 is gone.
Adam, I got to be honest with you.
Yeah,
when you mentioned that, I think that was during the original, the OG cast.
Yeah, it was World War Z because it's a zombie film.
I never got the pun between Bed and Breakfast and Dead and Breakfast. I just thought like Dead and Breakfast. That's some kind of like Waiting for Godot sort of like Irish theater thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm just an idiot.
No, I never set it up well. And I had like 2 meaty Bloody Marys in, and I just wasn't able to talk about it. But Unfortunately, I think this speaks to our feelings of Mr. Harrigan's phone when we're talking about.
I'm more interested in talking about David Carradine movies.
God, that man.
The Superman monologue
Oh.
in Kill Bill 2 is one of the finest things I've ever seen.
Yep. I guess we can switch then, huh? You want to talk about the title story then, If It Bleeds?
Sure.
So, all right. So, If It Bleeds has elements that are horror and what I would consider kind of like classic King, right? There's this unknown supernatural mythological figure. I might even say Lovecraftian thing from beyond that has existed for a while. How do you think this ranks or fits into his library of other supernatural stories?
I think this is one that actually has connections to another book you did.
Yes.
Several other, I believe.
Yeah.
The protagonist keeps talking about the other outsider, and that kind of links her to this character who starts by bombing a elementary school.
Wasn't there?
I know it was. I know it was bad timing for. I know this is like evergreen whenever you see it, but we were reading this when both the Buffalo shooting happened and then the Uvalde shooting happened as well. I finished the book like the day after it.
Yeah, a
lot of things that I want to say right now about that, but it's off topic.
Yeah, it's not really the time or the place.
No,
but
we were saying how it has connections to other novels that he's written.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think something to do with the Dark Tower also, because I think ostensibly all of his works tie into Roland's quest there and all of that, but.
And I read it's either a book or a trilogy called Mr. Mercedes or something like that. I think is because she constantly references a previous case and they trapped this thing in a cave or something. And I think that may be the premise of that book.
Yeah. But
okay.
Cool thing is I've never read that, and this story does stand alone pretty well as just a self-contained thing, and you don't have to know all the mythos to get into it. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was an interesting thing. It was like an X-Files episode to me.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it felt X-File-y.
Very much. I'm like waiting for Mulder and Scully to show up the whole time. I'm like, well, they're not coming.
No, that's her friend who's on vacation with his family out of town. That would have been Mulder.
Well, I hated this story.
Mike is finally the hater. It's about
deeply.
time.
No, I found this story to be painful to an extent that it's difficult for me to actually describe. And I rarely, if you're new to the show, man. I rarely feel this way.
You've come in on a banner day.
Lay it down, man. Lay it down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you how much I hated it. I read about 110 pages of it or so. It's about, 180, 190 pages, right?
Yeah.
So I read 65% of it, and I put this thing down and let it sit for a day, and then I made the conscious decision not to give it another moment of my life.
Oh my gosh, you pulled A City We Became on it.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a matter of like not budgeting my time well. This wasn't like not carrying my weight for the podcast. This was a conscious decision to withhold my attention from this story. I loathed
choosing to live your best life.
Every page. It was painful to me. And I stuck with it as long as I could, and then I just felt that I had to make a moral choice and take a stand and open it no further.
Can you give us some example of why it was so painful?
Yeah, I can give you many examples. How
much time we got?
He just unrolled a furl of parchment, and it just hit the ground when he was standing.
I'm gonna start with the one that I think is the least significant because I don't think anybody comes to King for this, but King's prose is awful. He is a
You're saying the quiet part out loud, I feel,
actually.
No offense, Dr. Stephen King.
He's a terrible, terrible writer. Now, he is a master architect of narrative. He is a profoundly great storyteller, and those are two different skills. So to be clear, when I say he's a terrible writer, I mean the prose, just the words. I feel like...
no Scott Fitzgerald.
Especially the dialogue in this one.
I just feel that everything I've read by him, even the stuff that I've liked, the prose is what I cringe at. So it's usually other things that rescue it for me. And those things weren't here at all. The stuff in the beginning was compelling. It would have been whether recent events had happened or not, because that's just the world that we live in. And whenever you get those sort of personal stories, that is always compelling because it's life and it's our life. And I liked how he gave it that little character spin. I think it was a teacher or somebody. He suddenly jumped ahead to after the explosion, and he was like, she would always spend the rest of her life asking herself if, and I liked that. I was on
if
board.
she would have seen if she would have seen that his scanner didn't actually beep when he held it over the thing. Exactly. It was the like administrative assistant or somebody in the office.
So I was on board for the first, whatever that was, 8 pages, but after that, the introduction of the protagonist lost me. I found the protagonist to be tedious. She doesn't have much of a personality. She constantly frets over everything. The peripheral characters around her, I couldn't figure out who they were supposed to be or why I should care. Then there was these inexplicable little episodes along the way. They go to her, I think it's her mom's house, and uncle, and
her uncle who has Alzheimer's or dementia.
At one point, he stands up, and I think I'm quoting the text. It says, "And then his pants fell down." And I'm like, am I reading the Three Stooges? What in the fuck is this? And they don't seem to be important characters. You guys can tell me if they come back, but this all seems to be for no reason.
The 2 kids come back.
Yeah.
And then she goes on. It's okay, all right, now we're getting to the sleuthing part. Now we're getting to the detective arc. She's going to solve the case. All she does is contact, her therapist and be like, hey, if you've heard of anyone else who's had this experience, can you let me know? And then he does let her know. And then we spend 50 pages listening to the people who actually have solved the case. They're like, we've got these videos. Let's watch them. We've got these pictures. Let's analyze them.
I've got the audiograms, and they match up exactly with Andowski.
Give her everything. They just spill it all out for her. And then I'm sitting there after all of that, and I'm just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, I have to separate myself from this awful story.
Wow, I don't remember having that visceral reaction to it, but
Shaun is shook because he's not used to being the guy who isn't strongly against what we're reading.
I'm filling Shaun's role, I guess.
You want to say it? Say it, Mike. Just do it.
Just get it.
I have too much respect for Stephen King.
Okay,
I'm not going to drop the boom.
Well,
you
could drop the boom on the story.
Oh, there you go. All
you could say it if it bleeds.
Yeah, I couldn't stand the story. Fuck you if it bleeds.
There it is.
Boosting that man's self-esteem for saying how he feels. There we go.
Man, it's been a little bit since I read the story, but I don't remember. I feel the same way as you do about King. He is by no means a wordsmith of high caliber. He's a working man's storyteller.
Which is what I think he's always set out to be.
And he's always admitted that he's just he's prolific because he just cranks things out and he doesn't agonize
Writes
over
10,000 words a day or something silly like that.
Exactly. And, it's, I guess I just didn't feel that horrendously about it, but I remember I wasn't very wow, I'm thinking about this thing days later. It was like a Disney movie.
No,
it was in and out the year and I'm like, it was okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't read a ton of King that I just had higher expectations that weren't being met. I don't know.
He definitely has an aura around his name as an author.
And he has,
engrossing.
Even just because of, his influence on Hollywood. Influence isn't the right word, but, the way he's permeated Hollywood and everything. We all know his stories, and we all know his characters. And he is so good at creating these... but this is a band that puts out a dud album, I guess. This story just, to me, I was like, these characters are tedious. This plot barely exists. I'm like, I was so unimpressed with it.
Maybe that speaks to King's later moments because we chose this collection to kind of match up with the Joe Hill thing we're going to do next and try to look at a comparison between Stephen King now and his son now because they kind of collaborated on some of that stuff. And maybe, he just doesn't have it anymore.
That's how many stories can you write? And I'm not saying that inspiration is finite or that a writer's career spans a certain age or any of that. But I mean, one of the questions later on involves how much work has Stephen King done?
Yeah.
And except for people who have ghostwriters under their name, like Dr. Seuss and James Patterson, I don't know of anybody who's written this number of books.
Dean Koontz.
It's asinine. Dean Koontz, yeah. Yep. So
we'll call those books.
Sure, books. Sure. It's funny, Mike, as you were talking about the prose, what really stuck out to me now, and it keeps sticking in my craw, protagonist would keep using the word poop instead of shit.
Oh,
I'm like, what the fuck? Just say shit. You're an adult. You can say it. And I mean,
he's
you,
trying
Steven.
to characterize her somehow, I guess. with that.
Sure, he's
It's
trying to
annoying.
infantilize her
Yeah.
because she clearly is still struggling with like growing out of her mommy's shadow and stuff like that. But oh my god, that really, I forgot how much that bothered me.
You know, I guess we can turn this to maybe a larger King conversation a little
Yeah.
bit. I just, I've always admired his world building. And I think Stephen King is the kind of writer who has awesome ideas. He has that moment of inspiration of like, fuck, I should write this.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it for a while and then loses interest. And I you can see it in almost everything I've read of his. The endings are always like he has no idea how the hell to end things. He's like George R. R. Martin in that regard. He just can't.
But at least he finishes the book.
Unlike
R. R.
George R. R.
Martin
Martin,
doesn't.
he puts something together.
Well, true,
Yeah.
yeah. And it always feels kind of like haphazard. Like
Yeah.
it's like what 500 pages or whatever,
It's a fucking
ridiculous.
It's like
Doorstop.
1,100 pages.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
huge.
it's huge. And I remember reading it and going like, okay, this is cool. Oh, well now what, a turtle tongue? What the fuck is this? Oh, there's a child orgy happening in the sewers. He's off. Something's not right here. And then it just ends. And you're like,
Steven
what
had
the
a bad day.
fuck happened? You know, he even admits that he doesn't remember writing half that shit because he was so sauced during all of those moments. I think he just
I get you.
he's mercurial. Like he has these moments of like inspiration hits and it's incredible, and then it just falls apart.
Yeah.
But then he's got other stuff like the Green Mile or like
Yeah.
Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption and all these things that are like, wow, those are brilliant stories.
Solid start to
They're
finish.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're not. And the prose isn't even that complainable. It's solid.
Yeah.
It's decent.
Yeah.
Maybe just because he throws so many darts at the board, eventually he's going to hit a few that are really
Well,
good.
and
Yeah.
we haven't even named all of his great work. You just named a bunch, and there's still
And we
so
haven't even
many
talked
others
about,
that
yeah.
we could. And that's my point. Like he creates these. Like the only word for it is iconic. Like they're now
Mm-hmm.
part of the pop culture.
Yeah.
There's stories and characters that just have so much resonance. But you know, I'm going to fall back on this analogy again. I think it's like the band that had so many great albums, like so many hit after hit after hit after hit, and then they just got to a point where they were like, and then there was like the post '60s stuff, like it's just.
Are you referencing the Beatles?
Oh, I meant '60s, like in age. But,
Oh, okay.
Is this like the greatest hits tour?
yeah, that's that's honestly like how I felt about this story. I was like, there was nothing memorable about it. There was nothing that stuck out to me about it. I could, other than the main character, like the other characters, I couldn't even keep them straight. Like there's several, right? Like there's several guys that she talks to.
There are 3 guys at work.
right.
There's one, and then there's 2 guys at work, and then there's a 3rd young man, and he and his sister end up coming while she's trying to kill the new outsider.
The news anchor guy.
The news anchor
By the
guy.
way, I did want to get on board. One of the reasons I even stuck with it as long as I did was because I did
12
like
pages.
that. I mean, that gave new meaning to the idea of the ambulance chaser. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
this guy who and I don't know what the final word on it is, obviously, because I'm a quitter. But
It's only the second book
But
that you've ever
You're a
quit on us.
conscientious quitter, Mike.
exactly.
I object on moral reasons.
It's like if you don't vote because you're lazy, you're a bad person. If you don't vote because you don't like your options, then that's your vote. That's still a form of voting. But where was I going with this? Oh, the ambulance chaser theme I liked a lot. The fact that this creature may even be sparking the crimes that he's then covering, to me, I was like, oh, that is a really cool theme. I wanted to like this story more for that reason. I couldn't get there.
Is it a good time for you to top up your guys' drinks?
It indeed is, because
catch
we are
up to
about
you guys. You
we're
guys-
about to do this and then the lightning round. So we'll take a quick pause to get some new drinks here, some more lemonade, vodka, lime juice going on.
We'll do some fake ads maybe, and
Yeah.
Keep talking about
like successful podcasts do.
I don't know that I want to talk about Stephen King some more. I might say, hey, find people at Rode. We're trying out your Class A servo biased Aphex onboard Rodecaster Pro soundboard tonight. We're an up-and-coming podcast. We seem like nice, fine gents. Would you like to sponsor us?
Maybe even send us 1 or 2 or 3 of these, and we can
Thank you.
do our spin-off podcasts. And
Actually, guys,
thank
I
you,
have
Shaun.
some news to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Breaking up the band.
band's broken up.
Going solo.
Well, this just became a bender of an evening then, because this is the last big bash. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, slow down, guys. We still have 2 more casts to record tonight.
And I think Shaun has 2 more watermelons too, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I will take a second while we're waiting for Shaun to get back on his sound system over there so we can hear him.
Thank you, sir.
That we have Joe Hill coming up after this, Stephen King's son, which I'm looking forward to talking about, and also Ex Machina, the movie that's coming up. And then we're going to take a brief break for the summer, not too long. We're going to come back in September with Neil Stephenson's Termination Shock. Holy shit, am I looking forward to that book. But holy shit, do I need that break to read that book.
Or Neil Stephenson. Thanks, guys.
Hey, man. You know who has the second most downloads of our entire podcast series? Neil motherfucking Stevenson.
It's the most, isn't it?
Yeah, he has the most by far.
Oh, he has the most. Oh, okay.
He's got like 100.
Thank you, Dr. and Mr. Neil Stevenson.
100,000, I think.
I have to also shout out Mike and his amazing charcuterie skills over here.
He's crushing it.
Maybe you're hearing me smacking my lips at some of this cheese and meat that he's got here.
I'm a man of contrasts. There's the part of me that's like the hipster sophisticate, and then there's the part of me that's like the anti-establishment outlaw. So the hipster sophisticate brought all these various cheeses and garlic stuffed olives and some good pepperoni, sliced pepperoni. And then the anti-establishment outlaw part of me brought, you named our local beer before, so let's give a shout out to Jenny Lights, Genesee Company, if you want to get in on this world-dominating success we're having with this podcast. I think you might be able to break out from the Western New York region.
I think so. You can leave Rochester.
Yeah.
I do hate to say this, and I say this in the kindest way. Jenny is a very hipster beer now.
Oh no!
It's just like
defeats
just like PBR.
Purpose.
So you are a complete circle, my friend. I'm sorry. It's very hipster. Just PBR, Jenny Cream Ale. It's all hipster now.
Oh,
Mike just had his Darth Vader moment.
Yeah.
Damn it!
No.
Jenny.
So appreciated though. Like honestly. Love it.
I go back and forth with beer. I go through these long phases where I'm drinking very, very fancy and expensive craft beers, and then I rebel against myself and fall back on cheap shit. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was in rebel phase tonight, but you're telling me I'm still the natural hipster is still coming out.
It's just like fashion, man. Like 30 years, everything comes back around. The 90s are cool again.
Yeah,
Jenny's cool again.
PBR is out. Jenny's in.
Fuck,
dude! I
just bought stock in PBR. There goes my retirement.
I'm looking at these garlic olives too, and I'm like, I'm not an olive guy, but I might have to have one.
They were fantastic.
Good.
All right, God damn it.
While you're doing that, I'll give Mike a head start here because we're going to do the lightning round.
Oh, all right.
Let's start it with Shaun's mouthful. All right. So we have 3 questions here about Stephen King. If you've never listened in before, the lightning round is where I get to ask these questions where I get super nitpicky and give both the guys a hard time, and they have to jam on a bell and answer in precise, exact reasons. If you're keeping track, so far I believe Shaun is ahead in the season series, but only by 1 episode he has taken the lead. So Mike could storm back.
Are you actually keeping track of this? Because I have no idea.
Are you just
I am legit
tension?
keeping track.
Really?
And also keeping tension. But it happens to work because we have 2 episodes left after this one. So Mike could take it. Shut up, Watch. If you're keeping score of sounds, by the way, that's 5. Apple Watch. That's what that was. All right. Okay. So, question number 1. We're going to play this Price is Right style. Okay. So, if you go over, you don't win. If you're under and closer than the other person, you can win. Okay. How many novels has King written under his own name?
Novels. Not novellas.
Novels. Let me change that. How many books has Stephen King written with his name as the author? Shaun?
I'm going to go with 42.
Mike?
I'll be going with 43.
Oh, the look that Shaun just gave Mike. Oh, my gosh. It's 64.
Yes! That's it, right? It was a 1 question.
Yeah, game over.
All right.
That many, huh?
64.
Damn.
That's excluding the Bachman books.
Yeah.
So, excuse me for a sec.
Hey, Mike.
Inhale the.
Fuck you.
Yep, there you go. Inhale the bug there.
Hey, I mean, I'm not gonna be shamed for my strategy here. I watched Price is Right when I was a kid and I was homesick from school.
Yeah,
really should have stayed for you, Dan.
Drew Carey is not
Ross.
my Price is Right, but
no,
yeah, no,
he sucks.
Bob Barker.
I'm sorry, Bob Barker.
Bob Barker has no personality at all on that show.
No,
Bob Barker was a great host of that show.
He is the Stephen King of Price is Right hosts.
That might have been a sad too.
I'm just
I don't
fishing.
know which one was
Should we
that.
do the sad trombone?
We got it.
Go
sad
ahead.
trombone.
Should we do it? All right,
yeah,
guys.
go ahead. We're
gonna
playing
try
with a new
something
soundboard. Here we go.
This is not us. This is something else.
Oh
There you go. I can't wait to play with this.
Oh my gosh,
in
yeah.
Post.
If you skip the 20-second promo, that was from our Rodecaster Pro soundboard. We're playing around with something new today, so changing the brand a bit. Question number 2. This one's a deeper cut. What is Stephen King's book, The Wolves of Calla, infamous for? Mike.
I mean, it's a total guess because that's part of the Dark Tower series, right?
I believe so.
No.
I'll tell you what, I just Googled this one, and it was on his site. The Wolves of Calla was listed on Stephen King's own site as being infamous for something under the FAQs.
It's not part of the main Dark Tower series. I know that. I don't think so. Maybe it is. What the fuck? I read it a long time ago.
Stephen King wrote 64 books under his own name. There's no way we've read all of them.
I'm going to withdraw my
Unding.
contention. I'm going to unding myself here because I have no idea.
Is it because it has a good ending?
Oh, wait.
Just for sound.
We got an audience cheer for that one?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, this one I probably went too far ham on this one. Mike, do you want to take a guess? What is the... I'll give both of you another hint. What is the physical book infamous for? Not the story itself.
Black paper with white ink?
It is not infamous for that.
Fuck.
I was going to say most pages ever published, something like that.
I believe that still goes to Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. But actually, the printer tried black ink on soft cover paper, and it would turn readers' hands black for days. They couldn't get it off.
I was fucking close.
You were real fucking close. I kind of want to give it to you, especially since Mike played you the way he did on that first question.
I think you're the arbiter, and you have the right to give that to me.
You can give him the point,
All right.
but I want to be clear that I didn't play anybody.
That's true. You
I'm
did
not,
the
I'm
strategy.
not a player. I just crush a lot.
Oh, God. Take his dig away from
Anybody hits that sad trombone line.
Wait. I got one for that one. Here we go.
Zeta Crickets appreciate my joke.
Damn, it's a long one, too. Jesus.
Is it still going?
It's still going.
Tell me when it's over.
And now.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you. I'll be here all night. Tip your waitresses. Crickets
okay.
appreciate my jokes.
When you give a boy a toy.
I wonder, is this going to be ranked down there with jujitsu in the pantheon of our cast?
Jiu-Jitsu is slowly coming alive.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's close to some
had
other
the
ones.
second biggest opening week, I think, just behind Marlon James' Moonwitch.
Yeah, it did, and then it kind of died.
It fell off a cliff, but
just like the movie did. All right,
I see you're sitting in my chair. It's my favorite. I knew you'd find it comfortable.
We'll call it tied because Shaun is a poet in the sci-fi sense.
there we go.
We're all just quoting jujitsu right now. Okay,
I'm going to get that tattoo
All
on
right,
my forehead.
we got a big
this is a
question here.
two-parter, so in theory we could end in a tie. In which case you'll have to like arm wrestle
Fight
or
to the
some
death.
shit.
Okay.
Fight to the
All
death.
right.
Sure. Okay, so one fastest to ring and win answers it. What was Stephen King's pen name?
Richard
oh my
Bachman.
God, I don't even know who got that.
I was also going to say Richard Bachman.
Okay, we'll count you tied still.
Fuck.
All right.
Oh, there's
Why?
I had it first.
But
I couldn't tell. They rang like simultaneously.
You were going to say Randy Bachman. You know you were.
Randy Bachman, Turner Overdrive.
I was going to say Dick Bachman.
There you go. All right. Why did he use a pen name?
Oh, I don't know that one.
Because he was a high school English teacher and didn't want to be confused with his students or something. I don't know.
Mike, I'm going to give you a chance to answer in.
Fuck.
That is incorrect according to Mr. Dr. Stephen King's website.
Emeritus.
Because
Esquire.
he was not equipped to deal with the pressures of literary fame, which are, of course, substantial.
Immense.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Sisyphean.
wait, I got a second answer just in case. He
Sure.
didn't want to be associated with that batshit crazy congressman or senator or whatever from Illinois or whatever that other Stephen King
There's
is.
another Stephen King from
Oh,
Illinois
and
that was batshit crazy.
he is insane crazy.
You guys are going to have to arm wrestle.
All right.
According to
All right.
according to Dr. Stephen King Esquire on his website, he used the pen name Richard Bachman because he felt like the public would not accept an author publishing more than one book a year. That is verbatim from his website.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that.
That's really stupid.
I'm just saying, this is what the man says.
You have to move the
I went to his
charcuterie out of
website.
the way for the arm wrestling.
I'm just gonna
Shall we just
say
call it tie?
Mike's got this.
Why? I did nothing that you didn't do.
I might have you on reach, but I think he's got me on physical strength. So
We're not boxing. But, all right, so that is the end of our lightning round. Gents, why don't we just put a nail in this fucking coffin here?
right to Mr.
I'm a
Harrigan's
no.
phone.
I'm a no. Yeah, I'm a no.
Yeah, I'm a no, but that's not a reflection on Stephen King. I want to keep making that point, that he's a master architect
You're very
of
kind.
writing stories, that keep the page turning. This just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you're gonna read Stephen King, don't read this one. But there are what is it, Adam?
63 other things.
63
With his name,
or
not including the
62
Bachman
other
books.
things plus other stuff. I mean, the man is prolific. You'll find something you like. I've read many of his things and come away enjoying it. So
Yeah, that's
There you go.
fair. I have enjoyed many of his other works. I think the well might be running dry. Kind of
I agree.
right? But
Yeah,
Dr.
but
Mr. Stephen King.
if so, he had an all right career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Should
Had
say
a little
so.
a
success.
little up and down.
Yeah, 64 books, and then the Bachman books, and now his son, who he's working with, and then all the movies that keep getting rebooted, even though I heard Firestarter sucks.
He shout out, by the way, to his on writing book. I love that.
Word.
As
Yeah.
a semi-autobiographical, like how to write kind of thing. I mean, it's brilliant, honestly. I think it might be the best thing he's ever written.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
And there's a pretty big section still devoted to it on his website about like questions people ask. So yeah, get on writing for sure. For sure. All right. So now that you've heard us talk about King the Elder, grab a copy of Joe Hill's Full Throttle and get ready to discuss the younger King's work. That's right, we're keeping it in the family with reading King's son's work. We'll have a lot to talk about. I bet you will too. Remember to hit us up on the socials. We're at Nerds of Old Republic, and we would love it if you would review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend or 50. Unless we're your only friends, and then consider going back and listening to the other episodes you missed, because you're going to miss us while we're gone for a little bit during the summer.
Yeah, re-listen to them over and over again. We're like the friend that will put you to sleep. Just put your podcast thing on while you sleep and just have it play repeatedly throughout the night, over and over again.
I believe this is exactly what they meant when sweet dreams are made of these.
And we're being completely altruistic as we say these things.
Who had a mind to disagree?
Yeah. We are friends, though, right?
Oh, we're still quoting that song.
Yeah. But all seriousness, grab that Full Throttle by Joe Hill. Love to see what you think about it. And so you can hit us up on the socials as you read it, too. We'd love to catch up with you there. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.